Hi guys. Something that maybe you did or did not notice, but I'm always going to label our notes as the unit we're in and the number of notes that it is. If that made any sense. So for this one, where's my highlighter? 1, 2, yeah? That means we are unit 1. This is the second notes of the unit. I will always put the section from the book in there as well. Okay, so this is unit notes that we've taken so far. So this is our second notes, and then the section that it is in the text. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Okay, so let's do it. Functions and operations. Functions are a relationship between two variables. We have the input, which is the x value. Okay, that's also usually the variable that we're substituting in for. And the output is known as our y value, or f of x, function of x. Now, for functions, there is exactly one output for every input. That's why the vertical line test works so well. Think about that. If I have a pencil test, right, if I have a vertical line and I'm moving along and I don't intersect the function more than once, that means that there's only one x value for that y value. But if you intersect it more than once, now you have multiple corresponding values. Okay, so there's multiple notations that we need to be comfortable with. X comma y, that's a coordinate, right? Same thing, x comma f of x. They are interchangeable. Function of x. What is my value for this function of x? What's my y value? So y equals f of x equals. If x equals, let's say, 2, then y equals 5. So f of 2 equals 5. This one is super important. F of 2 equals 5. If x is 2, then y is 5. Okay, how would we rate that? We would just say 2 comma 5. In our fancy notation, we would say 2 f of 2, because again, this is y, right, when x is 2, or 2 comma 5. These last two are definitely a little bit more challenging for us, and you need to take some time to get comfortable with them. You're in pre-calculus now. We are preparing you to journey into the adventure known as calculus. It's really important that you guys take the time to get comfortable with them, okay? So the collection of all values that works as inputs is called the domain. Those are our x values. Our inputs are the domains. The outputs are called the range values. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play around a little bit with this given function. F of x equals negative 3x squared plus 2x. There are 4 operations in math: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And we need to be comfortable operating on given functions. We need to evaluate. Evaluate means please perform the following operations. So, f of 2. Remember, f of, where is it? 2. That means that we are going to take 2 and substitute it in for all x's. So, negative 3 times the quantity of 2 squared plus 2 times 2. Order of operations, exponents first. So we have negative 3 times 4 plus 2 times 2. I will always do, how do I want to put this, arithmetic as thorough as possible. You guys can certainly cut some corners here and there if you would prefer. Just make sure that the cutting corners is not cutting the amount of work that I see, because then you will lose points. Please, please, please be careful with that. Okay, next order of operations is multiplication. So we have negative 12 plus 4. So we have just figured out that f of 2 is equal to negative 8. What does this mean? This means that the coordinate 2 comma negative 8 is what we found for 2 comma f of 2. Okay, important to understand going back and forth. For B, why is there a 5 outside? Yes, that is because we are going to take 5 and multiply it to our function. we're going to take 5 and multiply it to negative 3x squared plus 2x. I just took the function and substituted it in. So distribute. We get negative 15x squared plus 10x. Now, yes, you could factor out the 5, but that gets us right where we started. Don't factor out, okay? Leave it as is. Nice. Okay, f of negative x. Same thing we've been doing. This is still a substitution. So we're going to substitute that in for every x value. Negative 3 times a negative x quantity squared plus 2 times a negative x. Order of operations, if I have a negative x squared, that means I have negative x times negative x, which is just a positive x squared. Think of it this way, negative x times negative x. We don't have one x. Oh, sorry, thought bubble, right? The negatives give us a positive. X times x gives us x squared. Dying, sorry. Just kidding, not funny in this day and age. Not dying, totally okay. All right, and then 2 times negative x gives us negative 2x. Ladies and gentlemen, that's as far as we can go for f of negative x. How would I write that as a coordinate? Well, it would be a little silly, but we could. It would be negative x, comma, 3x squared minus 2x, which means when I input negative x to the function, my output is negative 3x squared minus 2x. Input and output. Okay, for D, similar, but notice the negative, unlike C, is on the outside. So this is saying I would like to take negative 1 and multiply it to our function. So we get a negative 1 times negative 3x squared plus 2x. Distribute the negative, we get a positive 3x squared minus 2x. So negative f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 2x. Yeah, easy, right? Just be careful with what's being asked of you because these are very simplistic in nature. Very easy to make mistakes if we don't take our time. Okay, so now, we are being asked to take a binomial, an expression, and substitute it in for our x value, for our input. Okay, here we go. We have negative 3 times the quantity, 3x plus 1 squared, plus 2 times the quantity, 3x plus 1. Order of operations has me foiling out, distributing this out. It's 3x plus 1 times 3x plus 1. So that leaves us with 9x squared plus 6x plus 1 plus 2 times this quantity of 3x plus 1. Okay, thought bubbling in case you missed, you're like, what did she do? It is this, 3x plus 1 times 3x plus 1, which if you FOIL, distribute, you get 9x squared plus 6x, right? First, outside, inside, and last. Okay. Next, I'm going to distribute my negative 3 and my 2. So I get negative, actually, I'm going to move over a little bit because I'm going to run out of room. Negative 27x squared minus 18x minus 3 plus 6x plus 2. My last step, because I see I'm almost done, is that I'm going to want to combine like terms. So the quadratic term, the term with the 2 in the exponent, doesn't have a like term. So it's negative 27x squared. It's gone. The linear terms, the terms with just the x's, so that's negative 18x and 6x, I get negative 12x. And the constants leave me with negative 1. There's our final answer. Nice. Okay. Remember, you can always pause. You can always rewind. I've got one more for you. Yeah, this is good stuff. So we're going to take 2. We're going to multiply it to the function. The function has us putting x minus 2 as the input. Okay, so negative 3 times the quantity of x minus 2 squared minus 2 times the quantity of x minus 2. I'm going to use a bracket. There we go. And then we're going to add 1 at the end of all of it. Take your time. The 2 is going to stay on the outside, as is the negative 3. I'm going to multiply x minus 2 times itself. So we get x squared minus 4x plus 4 minus 2 times the quantity x minus 2. And I still have that plus 1 on the outside. Again, take your time. Okay, the 2's on the outside because I still have to multiply. So I get negative 3x squared plus 12x minus 12. And then I'm going to distribute the negative 2. But ladies and gentlemen, please take your time. I know I've said that a million times. Why? Because I mean it. It's a negative 2, not just a 2. So we get negative 2x plus 4. And the 1's on the outside. I'm not doing anything with that 2 on the outside yet because I need to simplify inside my brackets. So the quadratic term doesn't have like terms. The linear terms, which is 12x and negative 2x, leaves us with a positive 10x. And the constants, negative 12 and positive 4, leaves us with negative 8, plus 1 on the outside. We need to distribute the 2 before we can add the 1. Why? Because order of operations, we multiply first. So negative 6x squared plus 20x minus 16 plus 1 equals negative 6x squared plus 20x minus 15. And I'm not going to try to factor out a greatest common factor. I'm not going to try to factor the quadratic at all because it doesn't say to. My directions said evaluate. It didn't say simplify. Okay, so that is our final answer. Some of you are, it might bother. I'm sorry. Okay, you need to just be okay with that. All right, so final closure. Think about some observations. When you're dealing with something inside the parentheses, like in A, what's affected? Yes, the output. The output is affected because you're substituting a value for x. Substituting an input, right? Okay, so when you're dealing with something outside of the parentheses, like B. Okay, I'm going to go back because I think the way that I said it is going to be confusing. So scratch that. Yes, I could edit the video, but let's be real. It's better to have these conversations so that you understand the distinction. Okay, so when you substitute something in, yes, you are substituting an input, which is what is affected. I think this is a better way to put it. Substituting an input or an x value, right? But when you have it something on the outside like B, where we had the 5, what's being affected? Truthfully, it's the output because you're multiplying by that number on the outside. So I hope that makes a clearer distinction for you guys. Yay! If you have questions, write them down. I can't wait to answer and discuss this with you guys. And I look forward to seeing you. Do your homework.